A cup of kindness. It was early morning when he stepped into the familiar café at the corner of the street. The air was crisp, and a soft breeze slipped through the doorway. He intended to order his usual hot latte, hoping to find some familiar warmth to begin his day. It seemed like just another ordinary morning. But as he reached for his wallet, the cashier smiled and gently said, "You don't need to pay. Your coffee was already covered by the customer before you." He froze, surprised. "But I don't know anyone here." The girl shook her head, still smiling kindly. "She doesn't know you either. She just asked me to pass along a message. Please pay this coffee forward to the next person. And, have a wonderful day." A small gesture. A simple message. But it made him stand still, for a few seconds. He held the familiar latte in his hand, but something felt different today. The coffee was still hot, still had that subtle sweetness he liked. But what warmed his heart wasn't the taste, it was the unexpected kindness from a stranger. He sat at his usual corner table. Taking a slow sip, he closed his eyes. The coffee today felt like it seeped into his soul. Soft. Gentle. Warm. Before leaving, he grabbed a napkin and wrote a few simple lines. "I'm paying this cup forward to you. Wishing you a beautiful day." He placed the note on the counter, paid for the next coffee, and walked out. The sunlight began to stream softly through the windows. This morning was no longer ordinary. Just a few minutes after he left, another customer walked in. They were handed a prepaid coffee along with the small note. "I'm paying this cup forward to you. Wishing you a beautiful day." They smiled, surprised and delighted. And they, too, decided to do the same, write a note, pay it forward. Then came the next person. And the next. And so, a quiet chain of kind coffees continued. Passing from one hand to another. No one knew where it started. And no one needed to know when it would end. It might have lasted just a few turns. Maybe all morning. Maybe, it's still going on somewhere. Just one small act, one simple note. But it touched others' hearts in ways no one expected. Because sometimes, you don't need to do something big to make the world a little softer. Just a cup of coffee. A kind wish. And a bit of humanity. We often think that to make a difference, we must do something grand. But often, a small gesture, like giving someone a coffee, is enough to touch a heart. No one knew who the woman was who started it all that day. She left no name. Waited for no thanks. Didn't stay to witness what she had sparked. She simply walked away. Leaving behind a cup of coffee and a message of kindness. But that act didn't end with one person. It spread. Quietly. Gently. Each person who received. Each smile. Each message. All became an invisible thread connecting strangers with kindness. Perhaps by the end of the day, the chain faded. Maybe someone was too busy to leave a note. But those who received, would remember. And maybe, on another day, in another place, they would begin something similar. This world is vast and busy. But amid all the rush, sometimes a simple moment, like receiving a warm cup of coffee from a stranger, is enough to remind us. Kindness still exists. Sometimes, the smallest action creates the loudest echo. We live in a world full of worries, where people are often rushed, cautious, and at times, distant. And yet, a simple cup of coffee can bring two strangers closer. That cup was more than a beverage. It was a symbol of goodness. A quiet ripple of nameless kindness. No one was asked to do it. No one was obliged. There were no conditions. Only one thing mattered. Sincerity. And it's that sincerity that makes people want to pass it on. Maybe the person receiving the coffee was sad that day. Maybe they had a rough morning, a sleepless night, a heavy week. Maybe they thought today would be just another gray day. But then, with one free coffee and a simple note, wishing you a wonderful day, they smiled. And truly meant it. That's the power of kindness. It doesn't shout. It doesn't glitter. But it can warm someone's heart at exactly the right time. And you know what? You don't have to be rich to be kind. You just need a heart that cares. That alone can create something magical. Starting with the smallest things. Have you ever received something kind from a stranger? A smile when you were exhausted. A gentle hand on your shoulder when you were close to giving up. Or simply, a cup of coffee quietly paid for. You might think it's trivial. But to someone who's lonely, tired, or hurting, a small act of kindness can be what holds them together. Kindness doesn't need a name. Doesn't need recognition. It just needs to begin. One person starts. Then another follows. Like small lights kindling in the night. Just enough to brighten a soul. The woman in the story didn't wait for thanks. The man didn't know her face. They simply left goodness behind, and moved on. But they did more than they knew. They sparked hope. In a world where people sometimes doubt each other, they made others believe. Goodness is not rare. Kindness is not a luxury. We can all begin with something small. It doesn't have to be coffee. Maybe it's a kind word. A shared umbrella. Or simply the patience to listen to someone finish a sentence. This world is not short of negativity. But it's also never short of hearts willing to love. The question is, are you willing to awaken yours? There's no shortage of good people in this world. But kindness, because it whispers, is often drowned out by the noise of life. Maybe the woman who gave that coffee was once helped on a rainy day. Maybe she wasn't wealthy. But she understood. Kindness doesn't come from your wallet, it comes from your heart. And that day, with just one cup and a few words, she planted a seed of kindness in a stranger. That seed took root. And then he passed it on. Not needing to know who received. Not expecting anything back. Just simply giving. That act spread, like ripples from a drop falling into still water. None of the people in the story knew each other. But they were bound by something beautiful. Nameless kindness. We often say, the world needs more love. But love doesn't always have to be grand. It can begin with the simplest things. A supportive look. A hand at the right moment. A warm cup of coffee on a cold morning. And today, maybe you are the one standing at the beginning of a kindness chain you don't even know you've started. Maybe, with just a hello, a smile, or a bit of patience, you've already lightened the heart of someone having a bad day. Never underestimate the power of something small. Because sometimes, what you give away thinking it's nothing is the only thing that pulls someone back from the edge. Keep being kind. Even when no one knows what you did. Because the world always needs more light. And you just might be the one who starts to shine it.